Hello, friends and neighbors. I'm just sharing a spontaneous moment with you. Yes, that's a big hat. So I was out in the yard picking up sticks because a tree fell down and I had to cut it apart. I had a bunch of sticks to pick up. And turns out picking up sticks and cutting up wood is a really meditative experience. And I'm doing that in the context of all kinds of changes in my own life, all kinds of shifts and I'm speaking about it from up here instead of down here because I don't want to get lost in the weeds. I wanted to share where my mind went because I noticed that, take a breath to slow down. I noticed that when you allow yourself to live in your breath, when you allow yourself to be the witness to the sensations in your body and the sensations or the thoughts in your mind. So when you just learn to kind of take a step back and listen to all these things that are acting themselves out in the moment in the context of your relationships with other people, the context of your perception of your life, all these things are acting themselves out. We're at war with ourselves, and in turn, we're at war with other people. The extent to which we are internally conflicted is the extent to which we are in conflict. So I've been trying to be not so conflicted. I've been trying to be as honestly as I can be in a place of resonating, choosing to do this thing we call love, choosing to resonate from that place from the inside out. And that's a practice. It's a practice. It's a choice to practice. It's a choice to practice love. It's a choice to practice happiness. And sometimes I fail. In fact, I fail every day. I relapse every day into the tangle of my ego, into the tangle of my stories, into the tangle of my fears, into the tangle of things that are going on around me that I may not be able to do anything but love from a place of masculine strength. So love from a place of, hey, it's not okay to act this way toward me or toward other people. But nevertheless, even when injured, to try, or even when perceiving injury, to try to turn that into, okay, what is the best way to alleviate suffering within myself and within others in this present moment? Sometimes people will not allow us to love them. Maybe I'll just cut the sentence off there. Sometimes people will not allow themselves to be loved. There's a block. And they can't fully love themselves and they can't fully receive love. And when they receive love, it's restricted, it's avoided, it's pushed back on. Or perhaps we struggle, perhaps I have struggled with how I express love. Perhaps I've expressed love in too much of a masculine way, or too much of a feminine way, or too much of some sort of way that is not received properly by someone else. It's a give and take between us. We're acting out these stories between us. It's like a cyclone. It's like a self-sustaining system. These relationships we get into with people, they act, we react. They act, we react. We act, they react. It's just this locomotive of injury and attachment and energy working itself out. So sometimes I relapse into that. Sometimes I fall into that. Sometimes the old story of Mark, the old ego, the old injury says, hey, I'm hurt. I'm hurt and I need to protect myself. I've had a lot of practice in this. And something I have worked on and worked toward, and I have a little more clarity of it in this moment is, rather than perceiving injury, rather than acting out the automatic response in my body that says, I'm hurt, you did this to me, I'm trying to notice that response in the body, to notice that energy, the pain, to notice and observe the pain, to notice and observe the sadness, to notice and observe the injury, the perceived injury. And then to see what is the best way to act from a place of love in that context. That means you don't need to go into agreement with someone's projection. You don't need to go into agreement with their fear. You don't need to go into agreement with the automatic response in their body that says, get away from me. I don't want to hear your feedback. I don't want your truth. I don't want your honesty. I don't want your love. And how we respond to the that everyone else gives us is how we will co-create the relationships in our lives. We need to take responsibility for how we read and interpret the sensations in our body and mind, how that becomes a story, and in turn, how that becomes a action and a reaction that is creating some sort of reality. So a deeper insight I had today while I was picking up sticks in the yard and focusing my attention and my intention is, and I mean this, I feel like I want to be real clear that I mean this from a place of practice. It's a place I choose. And I want to honor, to resonate from a place of love, to choose to act from a place of love, and to understand to empathize with where people are at around me to the extent I can, meaning to recognize people are not always going to receive your open heart or your open mind or your honesty, which is love. So how do I allow myself to resonate from that place within, to be honest from that place within, to act it out, to choose to drive this machine with the fuel of love, regardless of what I get in return? And sometimes recognizing, sometimes that needs to be more masculine in its approach, sometimes it needs to be more feminine. Sometimes it means letting go and allowing someone to fight the fight that they need to fight, to act out what they're going to act out, maybe just not to act it out with you anymore. Maybe you've done your part, maybe you've played your role, maybe you've learned the lessons you needed to learn in the role that you've been playing, and it's time to not play that role anymore. It's time to move on, it's time to let go. That's where I'm working on. That's what I'm taking responsibility for. It's where my mind is and my attention is. I'm noticing those injuries, and I'm just really working on not allowing them to become me. I don't want the automatic pulse in my body that comes from a place of historical injury and perceived threat in the present moment to become me, to become my truth, to become my creation. So a deeper insight today is that I don't need to take that on from other people. I don't need, when you choose to resonate from a place of love, you don't need to take on someone else's denial when they tell you, you're not good enough at loving me. You don't love me for who I am. You hurt me with your honesty. When you see that and you hear that, you feel that, you don't need to go into agreement with it. And it's taken me a long time to understand that in myself. I can just say, okay. And I can choose to still practice from a place of love and honesty. That may look like distancing. It may look like going over here. It may look like okay, I'm going to do everything in my power to let go,